This review is brought to you in part by Ryder's Hobby Shops, where the fun begins. Stop in to one of Ryder's 2 convenient Michigan locations where you'll find a full range of the latest hobby products, supplies, parts, tools, and paint.
Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the best scale model kit reviews on the planet. This review covers the 1947 Chevrolet Fleetmaster Aero Sedan model from Galaxie Ltd. It's a 125 scale kit, and this is kit number 13012 and was released in 2015. Now, this is a new version of the 47 Chevrolet that they've been making with new parts, but it's a new release, so it's rated a skill level 3 for experienced modelers. And in the box you'll get about 165 parts, molded in white, chrome, clear red with vinyl tires. It's a 3-in-1 customizing kit, can be built stock, custom, or racing in as versions. It has authentic looking black vinyl tires with some press-in wide white wall inserts. The trim parts are included to either build a 46, 47, or 48 model year. The decals are from ScaleMaster, and they include Country Club Woodside trim. You have the choice of stock or lowered suspension heights, and the model includes a detailed Chevy Stovebolt 6 that can be built stock or with speed equipment, including 3 Stromberg carburetors. The Edelbrock racing intake manifold and chrome Wayne valve and tappet covers are also included for that. It has a fully detailed interior with separate door handles, cranks, armrest pedals, finely engraved multi-piece instrument panel, and seats. Some of the custom options are a windshield visor and fender skirts. The instructions are well laid out and easy to read, and they include written instructions with the construction diagram. Now, on the back page you also get customizing tips to have a nicer build overall. Its dimensions when done about 8 inches in length, 3 inches in width, and about 2 1/4 inches high. Here are the decals for this kit, and as you can see, the color is great and the registry is very good. For most of the construction, we'll be using Model Masters liquid cement, sometimes super glue for strength, and white glues for clear parts. Overall, you'll find that the parts are very well laid out and not very big sprue tree attachment points, so they'll come off very cleanly. But as you should know, please follow all of the manufacturer's recommendations for safety when using any of the products you see here in the review. Get these parts out of the kit to begin construction on the motor. It's done in 2 stages. First, the block halves oil pan, front cover, and oil filler can be assembled and painted flat blue. The transmission is steel colored and the exhaust manifold is steel too. The coil, starter, and shift mechanisms are black, and the distributor is black with a steel shaft. Now add the starter, the coil, and the distributor onto the passenger side of the motor, and on the right side attach the manifold and the shift mechanism. Get these additional motor parts out, and you'll have to decide whether you want to make a stock or custom engine or a mix of both. I built mine as a mild custom using just 1 Stromberg carburetor and the chrome valve cover. Now assemble the fan, belt, and generator parts and paint this flat black. The hoses are flat black too, and the oil filter is semi-gloss black and aluminum with the decal added, and the intake is aluminum too. Attach the valve cover now, and then attach the fan assembly and hoses to the motor's front. Then add the intake, carb, and oil filter to the right side. I wanted a little extra detail on this one, so I added a pre-wired distributor and some spark plug wires to the engine. I made these myself just using some evergreen tube and rod stock and some small wires from a computer and some black boots from insulation. I found the wiring diagram on the internet, and first I drilled out a hole for the distributor shaft and installed it with some super glue there. Then drill out the plug hole locations on the heads. Cut a small part of the black insulation for the boots and slide one on each wire. Then match the wires up to the Stovebolt 6 wiring diagram and cut it to fit. Then slide each wire into place with the boot and to the hole to make it look correct, and super glue all the wires into place. Then add the coil to the center wire and then cut it and fit it sitting on the motor. Get the parts out for the chassis assembly and paint the chassis in the cross member black, and the tie rod is steel. The rear shocks are black too. The rest of the suspension parts are black also, with the springs being flat black, but the coil is highlighted with some dry brushed steel. Attach the rear shocks into place on the frame, and the upper A-arms are installed on the frame now too. The springs are installed into the lower suspension, and snap the brake drums onto the spindles and install the spindles onto the lower suspension. Add the tie rod into place and install the suspension onto the frame, then attach the crossmember. Now we'll assemble the rear suspension, and note the optional lowering blocks with the red circle there for the custom build. I didn't use them, so for most of them versions you can paint the exhaust pipe steel with an aluminum muffler. Assemble the leaf springs, axle and differential, the backing plates and the brake drums. Then paint that unit black. Now install the exhaust and the suspension into place on the frame. Now we're going to gather some of the other parts and consolidate this, but first paint the drive shaft and the radiator flat black and set those aside to dry. Install the motor with the drive shaft into place and add the radiator. The sway bar is steel colored and added to the suspension now too. Gather these parts to assemble the wheels and tires, and the rims are painted the matching color of the body, or they can be a contrasting color, but I used the body color for my build. To give the tires a used look, I pressed and rolled the tread onto a sheet of fine sandpaper, about a 220 grit. Now install the white wall into the tire and add the rim to the tire and attach the trim ring and the hubcap. Install the tires onto the brake drums, and the tires are non-directional, so location isn't important. The rolling chassis is completed at this point and can be set aside until later. Get these parts out to start the interior. So now install the brake, the clutch, and the gas pedals, and paint the floor flat black. The seat and the back shelf are interior color. I used tan for mine. And assemble the seat and paint it tan too. Add the grab handles to the door panels, and the door panels are tan with flat black kick panels and top rails. Now assemble the door handles and window cranks onto the door panels. Install the seat and the door panels to the floor, and now you can see the interior is coming together nicely, and with contrasting colors it looks like the real thing. Grab these parts from the kit to assemble the dash. First, the dash is painted in a number of different ways in real cars, so I referenced all the wood interior color and contrasting color and body color dashes, and I chose the interior color. So decal the dash and the instrument panel after you're finished with paint with the proper decals, and those are called out in the instructions. Now install the instrument panel and the lenses onto the dashboard. With the nice looking decals, this is really a detailed interior. Install the tire well now and paint the assembly on the bottom side flat black. The gas tank is steel colored with some black straps. Now install the tank, and then the floor is attached to the frame. The steering column and the wheel ring are black. Now add the glass to the wheel center and the wheel to the column. Then install the blinker shaft to the column and attach the interior tub to the floor and install the steering column into place. Add the dash into place on the slots in the interior, and at this point you can set the assembly aside to start working on the body. The body can be partially assembled prior to the paintwork, so attach the firewall in place on the body, add the hood hinges to the hood, and the fender skirts are optional, and I decided to use them too, so I attached them here now. And note that there are some minor mold lines that are barely visible, but you need to sand those down with some fine sandpaper before painting. So be careful on the rear fender mold lines as they follow one of the fender moldings. Now wet sand the body with an 800 grit or better sandpaper and rinse it clean and air dry it. Then verify that you've gotten rid of all the blemishes and repaired those, and then prepare the car for primer and use a thin coat of quality primer to paint the inside and outside of your car. With the body prepared after primer, I used a Gravity Colors brand paint called Valiant Green. It's color number GC-118, and it's a two-stage paint. You paint your base color and then a clear coat. So first paint the entire color's exterior with the body color, and the interior roof also your interior color, and then the inner front wheel wells are flat black. After the paint has cured, it's time to add your decals. Now, there are some large decals on this model, and I strongly recommend the use of some aftermarket setting solutions to make sure that they conform to the body's contours and stick well. But use plenty of warm water to locate the decals into position, and use the larger ones first, and then go all the way around to finish up with all of the decals into place. After your decals have set overnight, you can clear coat the model, or as in my case, I waited till after I applied the foil trim to the model and then clear coated it. I like to seal in both the decals and the foil in place. And the foil is just like tape you apply to the trim. You press it down and then use a sharp hobby knife to remove the excess, and it looks like a real trim on a real vehicle. The window glass in this kit was pretty nice, but I think you can always enhance window glass by dipping it into some of the future floor polish and then wicking off the excess and letting that dry. Once that's dry, you can install the window glass using some of the white glue, and then add the visors and the mirror into place at this time. At this point, the instructions have you add the body parts to the model, but I'm going to forego that and not attach those extra pieces so that they don't get damaged when handling the model for finishing it up. Now slide the body onto the chassis and line up the chassis so that it fits snugly, and you won't need any glue here. It's a pretty tight fit. Make sure that it fits flush all the way around the bottom. Now, without using some glue, we can attach the front clip to the chassis. It'll have final adjustments and then be glued into position later on. If you opted for the woody look, paint the side panel trims with some wood tones. And the battery is black with white caps and steel posts. Now install the battery into place in the engine bay. Attach the door handles to either the wood sides of the body if you didn't use the wood sides. Then attach the gas cap. Now assemble and attach the wipers, and drill a small hole and attach the mirrors if you use those. Then add the rear rock guards to the fender if you choose to use those as well. I wanted to personalize my model, so I printed out my logo and sized it to fit the license plate area on a color inkjet printer on some plain white paper. Then I covered it up with a piece of clear gloss tape and cut it out and glued that into place at the back of the vehicle. So gather these parts on the rear and choose which ones you want to use for your version. Attach the exhaust tip and then add the trunk handle, and assemble the rear lights and attach them to the fenders. Then add the license tag into place and use whichever you want. I use my custom one, and then add the bumper into place too. The front end has the 3 model year options I mentioned, and you can create any one of them. You choose the parts that you wish to use. You can see in the 2 photos here that there's 46 and 48 parts similar, and then there's 47 parts. So the remaining parts then you can set aside and put them in your parts box. I chose to make the 1947 model year version. Paint the marker lights a turn signal yellow, and on the hood attach the side scripts, the top ornament and front ornament. Then assemble the headlights and lenses and install those. Now add the grille and drill a hole in the fender for the antenna and install that. Then add the bumper and the tag mount with the tag that you've chosen to use, and install the hood onto the body. Since the front clip is separate, if your hood and the body parts don't line up, now you can adjust the front clip to align all the body lines and the hood into place, and all of the parts can be installed. So use just a dab of super glue on the underside to hold everything in place when you get it positioned properly. Now the engine bay will be complete, and with the hinges in place on the hood there, you can display the car with the hood opened or closed because it just lifts up and it pretty much stays into position without a hood brace. So I would choose this option to show off that greatly detailed Stove-Bolt 6 engine. Now, depending on the choices for versions that you made and the decals that you used, there will be quite a few parts remaining for you to add to your parts bins. And then my unused parts and decals always go back into the stash because you never know when you're going to need an extra part. Well, Galaxie Ltd. Has been around for only since about the early 90s, and they only have a few kits available. They make a variety of them, but this is a beautiful kit. It's well designed, it fits well, there's very little flash, just a few parting lines, which you have to expect in a molded product. And you're going to get a high quality, highly detailed kit, and it has plenty of options for 3 different model years. So if I were you, and I would go out and pick one of these kits up if you like the stock and custom 47, 46, and 48 Chevrolets, because this is one of the better examples on the market. Thanks for joining us at Right On Replicas, where we're proud to bring you the premium model kit reviews that you've come to expect. Now, so that you don't miss any more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, or you can find us on Facebook or at our website, www.rightonreplicas.com. Thanks.